We talk more about the second overall pick. We've been an advocate for Scoot Henderson, but what if the Hornets did select Brandon Miller? Would we still be excited? That and more trade talk today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
We're Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your pods. That does include YouTube. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. You can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's see the nickname. Yep. David, you came up with this one.
Yeah, this
Scoot
Henderson.
That's an original.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing with them on my Twitter profile. This one's the current leader. So, yeah, that works, Doug. That works.
Oh, it's fantastic. David Walker, frequent contributor here. Find him on Twitter at David B. Walker. Scoot Henderson also. It's fantastic. And that is SHOE. Shoot Henderson, by the way, just
not
everybody.
The best, to be honest with you. It's just tricky, but it works if you read it. I think if it's a visual, it's a visual.
Well, people watching YouTube can see it, so you have to go to YouTube and watch to get to the joke. That's Doug Branson. Find his work on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Catch me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3. And by the way, another reason you should go to YouTube is because people are flocking over here. Thank you to everyone. 4,000 subscribers. The first show we will have done.
Yeah,
at the 4,000 subscriber mark. Now, I know we were doing the whole grandmama dress tease for you, Doug. Is there still that on the horizon? Maybe at 5,000? Can we get you in a grandmama dress at some point?
I think that's doable. Yeah, at 5,000, I think we can get there by draft time. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, look at this beautiful number, 4,000. Oh my gosh, 4,005, no less. And I wanted to let me re-trigger this.
Okay.
Because here's the chart. Now, what happened? What happened to get us from like 3.8 to 4? What happened?
Oh, yeah, something happened.
That number two pick.
Well, yeah, everybody's excited to trade the number 2 pick. That's what it is. They want to see DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine here. They're all excited.
Oh, God, look at it falling. Oh, God.
No, I'm kidding. They're going to draft Scoot. I'm kidding. All right. We saved it. We're back at 4,005. We'll get to some more of that conversation a little bit later on in the show. But here we are talking about Scoot Henderson, right? We've got a whole panel here on this podcast right now that is so Team Scoot. It's ridiculous. I mean, it on WFNZ, I felt a little bad because I just kept talking so much about Scoot to the point where if they did literally anything else, it was going to be a massive mistake and it was going to be the worst move that the Charlotte Hornets have ever made. When in reality, that's not how I should be talking about it. I think we all just really like the idea of Scoot Henderson, the number 2 pick. People are calling him the best guard prospect in the last decade. They talked about how he could be a number 1 pick in a lot of other NBA drafts. If the Hornets don't get the number 1 pick, this at least is that caliber player, right? Like maybe this is more closely resembling an Alonzo Mourning, maybe an Emeka Okafor. Dwight Howard was going to be the number 1 pick there, but maybe an Emeka Okafor, not the MKG. There's another second overall pick I'm forgetting, I think. But this is more so okay, cool. Like we don't get Wemby, but this is a great spot. How would we feel if Brandon Miller was the selection? David, we'll start with you. If Brandon Miller would end up in a Charlotte Hornets uniform, how much of a disappointment would it be? And how much would it take you to get over that with Brandon Miller here in Charlotte?
Yeah, I'm hopeful it would take about the same amount of time it took me to get over not getting the number 1 pick and then realizing we may be able to get Scoot. I know that sounds weird, but like this is an interesting scenario because Brandon Miller, I think, is still going to be a very good player. I think if they got either one of those guys, it will be a good addition to this team. He checks so many boxes. And I mean, I think that's why it's reasonable when you see some of these mock drafts to see him going to the Hornets at 2. Because the fit is really perfect. You know, he's that big, long-rangey wing. He can shoot. He can guard multiple positions. If you start talking about him playing the 2 with LaMelo, that's a freaky tall backcourt that they've never had here. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something that would – I think the initial shock or the initial disappointment of not getting Scoot would be real because I think us Scoot believers, see him as just that special of a player. But it shouldn't be – to the detriment of, the potential that Brandon Miller has too, because I think he's going to be a good player in this league. We just feel like the ceiling and maybe the excitement for Scoot is a little bit higher, but I mean, they're going to add a good piece in either one of those guys. And any other year, it would feel like, lip service a little bit, but I really think Brandon Miller is going to be a good player in the league.
What would be your disappointment level, Doug?
I would certainly be disappointed, but if you want, since we have three scooters here on the show, I can pretend to be the guy that wants to take Brandon Miller, doesn't want to take Scoot.
You would love that.
Well, I
studied theater both in high school and college, so like I can do it. I can just like transform. Right? You ready?
Okay. Yep. Let's see it.
Guys, Brandon Miller is the obvious pick here, and I don't even think it's close. It's not Scoot Henderson. I'll get into the negatives in just a moment, but let's start with the positives, okay? On Brandon Miller, the fit is not only good, it's absolute. The Hornets have been looking for two things for a very long time. Number one was a defensive center that could lock down the paint. They finally found that. Now it's time for the Charlotte Hornets to find the other thing they've been searching for, and that's a lockdown defender on the wing, somebody that can guard the other team's best player. Is Brandon Miller at that point right now? No, but he absolutely can get there. He's an active on-ball defender. He's got the lateral quickness to defend multiple positions, and it would take some pressure off some of the other guys that have been miscast, like Miles Bridges, if they bring him back, or PJ Washington. Take pressure off of those guys to play against that best offensive player on the other team and allow them to do what they do best on the offensive end of the floor. So he's got the defense, because we talk about the shooting all the time with Brandon Miller, but let's talk about the defense. This guy is going to be an amazing defensive player on the other end. Unlike, I think, Scoot Henderson, who has issues in terms of, yes, he's got the wingspan, but look, 6'2" is 6'2". You can't change that. There are going to be players in the NBA that are able to shoot over the top of Scoot. They're going to shoot over Scoot. You're not going to shoot over Brandon Miller, okay?
That doesn't rhyme.
Bottom line, that's it. Brandon Miller should be the pick, number 2 overall.
All right, so this is the problem, though, because I don't know what part of that real Doug believes.
And I'm back. Oh, God. Oh, what? I blacked out there for a minute. What happened? What did I say?
So yeah, welcome. Whoever that was just discussed how there was like pretty much all defensive potential with Brandon Miller. Here's the thing. Like,
that's ridiculous. That sounds absurd.
Does it? So I don't know. What are we doing?
Yeah, you should have heard it.
Yeah, it was. This
is a real severance situation.
This guy, smacked his face and shifted it all over the place, and then boom,
that's right. I don't need to do this like facial. I need to do the severance thing where I just hit the button and go down the elevator, and then when I come back up from the elevator, then I'll do that later in the show. I'll defend Brandon later in the show, and I'll go down the elevator.
You are the employee warning everyone. Do not draft Brandon Miller. It's a trap. Don't do it. He doesn't even mean it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I don't. If I stay to my true self and don't go into different actor mode with my face shifting capabilities like you do, the positives for Brandon Miller, even with me being such a Scoot Henderson fan, one thing just going back over his tape, he's actually an awesome passer, and that was the thing I was surprised about. Or just going a little bit deeper into it. Fantastic vision. And then you also have the LaMelo thing where LaMelo's 6'7" and can see over the defense, so he can make every pass. Brandon Miller is like that too. The thing with the handle, people are a little worried about the shot creation. I think it's kind of a polarizing skill set for him. It's just a wide handle, right? Like if you see him going over picks and, doing the whole pick and roll thing, I think what you see is it's a little awkward. It's out, it's above his hip. And I think tight defenders are going to be able to snatch that thing. But when he is able to take advantage of you, he can use his big body to get to the rim. He shot a lot better after the first 10 games of the season within 3-point range. So there are things to like. I just, when people want to compare him to a Paul George or Jason Tatum, the actual archetype wing, the player that everybody wants in the NBA, I don't put him there, right? I think Chris Middleton is more of an example that I would go with, who'd be a great player or very good, right? Multiple time All-Star, but not perennial All-Star. Maybe even I heard Smoke on WFNZ. Good old Smoke. Love that guy. He came up with a Danny Granger comparison. Danny Granger is pretty decent to me.
The OG Paul George.
Yeah, well, but also fringe All-Star, good player. The only reason it flamed out is because of injuries. I just see more of that with Brandon than I do with the top end ceiling. Are those fair to you, David? Or some of those things something that you would welcome here to Charlotte if it did hit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And look, we poo-pooed Danny Granger, but he was a good player. I think he would be an addition to this team too. It's just not the fireworks. It's not the electricity that you think you're going to get with a Scoot Henderson, right? But Brandon Miller, like you said, or like Severance Doug said, the fit is just perfect, right? And that's what a lot of people are seeing now, and that's what's going to be interesting over the course of these interviews and workouts in the next few weeks. That's when they're really going to dig down into this guy or into both of their options here and see what's what. The intangibles are something that you're not as sure about. I know just from watching Scoot and seeing a couple of his interviews, he wants to play basketball. He's been a professional basketball player for the last 2 years. And I think he's going to get in that gym and raise everyone else's level. Is that something Brandon Miller can do? Sure. Is that something that he is already built to do? I don't know. So those are the questions they're going to have to figure out. Talent-wise, I mean, it's just a perfect fit, like we said. So that would be something that they, it couldn't hurt them to have him on the roster.
Walker, if you need me, if the people that watch the show or listen to the show need me to defend Brandon Miller's intangibles, I can turn Severance Doug back on. I can go down the elevator, come back up. But I know we're running up against time. Maybe we do that in the next segment.
All right, yeah, maybe we do that. Let's take the elevator ride and see what Severance Doug has to say. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Are we dwindling this choice down to just 2 players when we should at least be expanding it to 3, maybe 4? Could there be a rogue pick? We'll talk about that in just one moment. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and you can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, but not even just sporting events. You can also get flash deals on concerts, comedy, theater, and even more than that. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price, and if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat too before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Rogue Pick Talk coming up next. Locked On Hornets.
Is Locked On Hornets.
Are we sure that everyone interprets a handful as 5?
I think so. Honestly,
I would say a handful is normally 5, but
I would agree.
4 is acceptable.
What's going to hold 5 things in my hand? Look, 1, this is a pen, a book. I got a phone. You guys are actually right. It's getting pretty full.
Yeah, I know.
Here's a cable. 5.
Okay, that's 5. That's 5.
And here's a coffee cup.
What else?
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
All right, so we had the conversation about Scoot Henderson, and then we got an appearance from Severance Doug about Brandon Miller. Do we want to go back? I almost want to hear real Doug's thoughts on how he would feel about Brandon Miller. I don't want Severance Doug. I want real Doug. Okay, if Scoot Henderson wasn't the selection, then how would you reconcile with the fact that it was indeed Brandon? Then maybe we can get to some other prospects here.
Too bad. You're getting Severance Doug. Here we go. Hit the button.
Don't do it. Oh, damn. I like that one.
So here's the thing with Brandon Miller's intangibles, okay? I don't want to hear about intangibles. First, I like tangibles, okay? I like people who do it in the box score, number 1. Number 2, let's talk about some of these intangibles for Brandon Miller. He's already talked about it a little bit at the Combine. He has seen the end of his career flash before his eyes. Don't you think a guy that's seen that, that's been involved in that kind of situation, would suddenly value every single day of the rest of his life and get in the gym and practice his skills and focus on becoming the best player in the National Basketball Association? I think so. He doesn't come in with this overwhelming confidence that is going to derail the rest of his career. He knows that he is not promised a tomorrow, so he will work today for the Charlotte Hornets. That's Brandon Miller.
Wow. Somebody's angling for an agent's job.
What the hell was that?
Oh no, it was fine. Somebody just gave us it's not about today, it's about tomorrow speech, and it was glorious in Brandon Miller's defense. Okay, so that's Severance Doug's thoughts. We have 4 people on the show today, and we appreciate everybody joining, incling you, helping us reach 4,000.
Wait a minute. Severance Doug tried to turn that into a good situation. Oh
he
my
did.
God.
Crazy. I know. It was nuts. All right. Here's the other prospect that maybe you could see here in Charlotte, right? Because Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, those have been the options, and this will continue to be the debate. But is there a possibility for an Amen Thompson to be in the conversation? So at WFNZ, we have the Garage Door Guru text line. Crib, I hope I get some money off that. Wow. So the Garage Door Guru text line, we have a whole bunch of people writing in Scoot, Brandon Miller, yada, yada. But I would say out of 100%, maybe 5 to 7% will give a little Amen Thompson mention.
Can I get an Amen?
Yeah, little Amen Thompson. Just, what about him? Hey, that's the guy we really should be paying attention. David, any shot at this being a rogue pick and being anybody else outside of Brandon or Scoot?
I love that move because it says, hey, I think a little bit deeper than the regular guy, right? Like everyone else. Yeah, I like that move a lot. It's a great water cooler move. It's a great move at the bar. Those guys are good, but what about this guy? He's the one I've been watching. No, that would be horrible. What you were saying before, would you be disappointed? Yes, if they take anybody other than those 2 guys, the top, then we'll have cause for concern on draft night. I mean, that would be an outright, there would be some rage felt in the streets. But I mean, that would be the guy. Okay, if we want to play that game, I guess it would be Amen. We go Amen or Amen?
It's Amen.
You could go either way.
Amen.
Okay,
It's
Amen. Okay. Intriguing prospect, just on a different tier, just on a different tier than Scoot and Brandon, I think, for me. So that would be, unless, again, the workouts, who knows, guys, but I think you're starting to get in trouble there if you go outside these 2 guys.
Well, with Amen in particular, he's not even on a different tier. He's on a different timeline because Amen is going to be more of a project than either one of those guys. And so I think if it were any other team than the Charlotte Hornets, who desperately want to make the playoffs asaptually, then I think that you could make a rogue pick argument. But with the Charlotte Hornets, I think this really has to be Scoot or Brandon. Brandon needs to put some weight on, but he's, he'll play a role next season if he's the pick, and then probably take a more lead role in the following season or the season after that. So we're not talking about a Kai Jones kind of situation, which I think you would be talking about a little bit with Amen in that we just, the athleticism is obviously there, and he could be, he might be the most athletic person in this draft. So like the tool set is there, the shooting is not there at all with Amen. So, a lot of things that you have some questions about it. And I think a team that's on a different timeline than the Charlotte Hornets would be better suited to have him on board.
No, Amen is also a 6'7" point guard, by the way. That would be a pretty awesome backcourt just with the aesthetics of having both of those guys there, but also he's got great vision too. I mean, those passes to the corner from the top of the key and driving are crazy. So Amen would be fun, but also not the right pick.
But I mean, and think about it though. I mean, we think back to last year, right? All the noise was Jabari, and then what? Like, I don't know, 4 hours before the draft, that's when the Paolo stuff started coming out loud. This is a different scenario, but it's weird for the Hornets to be in the 2 spot. And really the draft start with them. I mean, you see this sometimes, but like that's where it really starts, and they can still get a impactful, perhaps a future all-star player. But that I just don't see those two. Those 2 have been in the conversation for so long, right? It's been that we started to hear this Brandon Miller buzz around March. He could be the second pick, yada yada yada. But it's those 2 guys. So I think there'd have to be a lot of movement and a lot of stuff going on between now and the draft, which is not that far away, by the way, for someone else to sneak
inside
in
a
there.
month. Yeah.
I don't think it's Amen or Cam Whitmore or Jarris Walker or any guys like that we should be thinking about in terms of rogue pick. I think it should be Victor Wembanyama. Everybody thought it was going to be Jabari last season.
That's
And
right.
then all of a sudden it became Paolo right at the last minute. So let's, I know everybody thinks that Victor's the obvious number one, but until we get a Woj tweet or until someone from the Spurs makes it official, Wemby to Charlotte at number 2.
They did draft Josh Primo at 12, so anything is possible with the Spurs at this point. They could take Scoot Henderson number 1. Now, Doug, if Wemby fell to 2, would you trade that number 2 overall pick to Chicago to get Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan to make the playoffs asaply, as you put it?
Well, 100%, because you don't want the falling star at that point, right?
No, you
Victor,
don't.
if Victor goes to 2,
Yeah, we've been there. We've been there.
You desperately want Victor at number 1, right? I mean, we wanted it so bad. You could see it on the broadcast and the live broadcast. We wanted the chance to have that generational talent, Victor Wembanyama, take him at number 1 overall. But if he goes to number 2, then it's like, well, why is he at number 2?
This is like draft day when Bo Callahan falls. Why didn't he go to his birthday? Why? Did Wemby have all of his teammates go to his birthday, or did everybody hate him enough to the point where they didn't go, and now he's going to cause locker room drama, and now the Spurs got word of it. They're going to take Scoot Henderson instead, and then here he is in Charlotte messing up our locker room. No, sir.
No.
Welcome Amen Thompson instead of Victor Wembanyama.
That's right.
2.
You don't want second French fiddle, okay?
You don't want that at all. All right, let's go to the next segment. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. We'll continue to talk a little bit about the trade, but also potential trade, by the way. But also we'll talk a little bit about the 35th anniversary for the Charlotte Hornets. I did come up with a top 30 player list that was pretty criticized. Do we update it and then just leave myself open for more criticism? We'll get to that in just a moment. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, a fantasy sports app or website where you can pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And I mean, they have projections on every sport you can think of. That includes the big 3, the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, with the Stanley Cup Championship about to happen in just a moment, really after these conference finals are done soon, with the Canes going down 0-3. But also WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf. Yeah, absolutely. Locked On NHL, baby. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. You get the idea. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. One more segment to go. Locked On Hornets.
This is Locked On Hornets.
To start this off, we all know about LeBron and how he built a school and it got a lot of fanfare. By the time 2019 closes, Bismack Biyombo is planning to have 6 schools.
Take that, LeBron.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Doug, before we get to the 35th anniversary, did you want to spend more time on that potential trade? Because when we posed it yesterday and we got to the comment section, it was a resounding, how about no, Dr. Evil style. When we proposed the DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine for number 2 pick, we also threw some first-round picks coming back, and then we'd have to match the salary. So we're talking about Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, stuff like that. People still saying no, thank you. I didn't see one yes, to be honest with you. But you think people should keep an open mind?
Well, propose is a strong word. I don't know if I proposed any kind of trade. I'm not advocating for any kind of
beep, beep. Wow.
I'm not advocating for any kind of trade. What I'm saying is the Hornets should explore all available options to add talent to this team. And yes, sure. I think fans should keep an open mind, but I understand that they are not going to keep an open mind because everyone loves the top 3 pick. I mean, people have a special affinity to top 3 picks because there is the potential to change a franchise for the next decade. And so I understand that, but at the same time, top 3 picks go wrong. And I think Hornets fans should be especially attuned to draft picks going wrong. I know most of our draft picks go wrong in the 9 to 12 range. But look, Darko Milicic happened. Sam Bowie happened. There are top 3 picks that seem like sure bets that all of a sudden go wrong. And so if you have the option to get talent that as an NBA GM and scouts, that's talent, that's not going anywhere, barring injury. You're going to get a few years of either fringe all-star level impact, and you can add draft assets. I think you absolutely have to explore that. And I would just say finally that I'm very, very sick. I am a sicko, and I haven't seen the Hornets win in a long time. And if you told me that they could get a 6 seed next year, there would be a lot that I would do for that Klondike bar. So I'm very sick.
The thing to me that I would actually keep an open mind about is Jaylen Brown. So now that the Boston Celtics are, away, so hold on, we're okay with DeRozan and Levine, but not Jaylen Brown. You want me to keep an open mind? I try to throw you a bone, and then you fart noise my Jaylen Brown.
I should honk big red nose noise, because that's Jaylen Clown. I mean, get out of here with this guy. I mean, he just completely floundered in the playoffs. I mean, come on, can't shoot, can't dribble.
All his fault.
He was their best player in the NBA Finals last year.
That was last year. What about this year?
Well,
we'll see.
They won a championship. Did they win a title last year? They won a title last year? Let me check.
Bring me Severance Doug back. I want Severance Doug. Yeah, where's he? Take the elevator ride. Okay.
Jaylen Brown is an absolute all-NBA level talent. And if the Hornets have the opportunity to add him, then you got to do it. Listen, you have to explore every opportunity, and I mean every single opportunity to make this team better. And there's just no doubt about it. Jaylen Brown would do that. Anyway.
All right. Thank you, Severance Doug. It was crazy. You should have heard what he had to say. All right, 35th anniversary being celebrated in the upcoming season, upcoming season for the Charlotte. It's crazy because it does not feel like 5 years ago when I hopped on this podcast.
Feels like 10 years ago.
I know it is. It's crazy. So that was my first year hosting Locked On Hornets, and then right off the bat, we did a top 30 Hornets list of all time. And so I had some regrets, and I was waiting for this moment, but it's coming up. It's coming up. I get to redeem the top 30 list with, a top 35 Charlotte Hornet list of all time. And I am so excited to get this thing going, man.
Well,
I'm ready.
David, I don't think it's a coincidence that Walker goes to work for the flagship Hornet station, and the Hornets give Walker an opportunity here to redeem a list that was as attacked as my Chicago Bulls trade proposal. Okay, go on, Dave.
They were moved. Yeah.
I think you just gave them their 35-year anniversary slogan. I've had some regrets. That's right. Charlotte Hornets at 35 years. I mean, print the
What are we doing?
t-shirts.
Well, I want the franchise video to be released on their Twitter handle with the guy wearing a Svi Mikhailuk jersey, looking up, going like this, bent over. Yeah. I've had some regrets, just like this, and then boom, the banner is there, and then you are ready to go for the 2023-24 season. Everybody is excited, including you, Doug. How excited are you for the 35th year anniversary?
I mean, can we get serious for a second? I'm just sick and tired of this franchise constantly leaning on nostalgia. Shouldn't this franchise focus for just a second?
Nada is somewhere saying, yes, my spirit animal, Doug Branson.
Well, that's fine. I'm good to channel Nada on this particular issue because I think they should focus on making some actual history instead of celebrating to constantly celebrating their history. To do this after the 30th anniversary is beyond absurd. And I don't know if you saw this, but they did a whole celebration that involved a museum and I believe it was the city's museum, the history, the Charlotte History Museum, and they made a jersey in honor of this 35th anniversary to give to the museum, and they misspelled museum on the jersey. So that's just. amazingly on brand. But seriously, like we shouldn't be doing this after that. The 30th meant something. That it's like, all right, 30 years, 3 decades. That's a long time. 35, that doesn't mean anything. I'm 36 years old. Nobody's celebrating me.
Well, look, the Heat are celebrating their 35th anniversary this year, and look what it did for them. So, I mean,
that's fine. They have history. They have championships. They have Hall of Fame talent. In fact, they have Alonzo Mourning. They have one of our Hall of Fame talents.
I think the Hornets deserve some credit in that, in that success. I mean, we basically
they should. They should, instead of celebrating the Hornets' 35th anniversary, they should celebrate the Miami Heat's 35th anniversary.
All right, so real quickly. Because you know how like different anniversaries, you get different gifts, you have different themes, paper or whatever. I honestly, it's the only one I even know. I don't even golden anniversary, whatever. I don't know all of them. I looked up 35, and traditionally the 35th wedding anniversary is marked in both the UK and the US with a gift of coral. So, I'm a fish guy. Maybe I can put up some coral somewhere and we can celebrate the 35th year anniversary by going down the top 35 player list and then bring in some fish stuff. Like Shark Williams, congratulations. You're a top 35 Hornet already. Gobi Martin, not Caleb Martin, who is playing out of his mind, but we can go with Gobi Martin.
Wrong
Maybe
twin.
We can do some of that as well. That's what we can celebrate. You're 35, Doug. Does that not get you excited?
A 6 seed. That's all I want. I just want to say I'm sick. I'm sick, Daddy, and I need a 6 seed. That's all I want.
That was weird.
Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Okay, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks to everyone for joining us, and thank you to everyone also for subscribing to the YouTube channel,
Click.
Locked On Hornets. It's very easy to do. Oh, is this Severance, Doug? Oh, he's just gone. He just left. He's out. All right, so that is Doug Branson leaving the show. Thanks again to David Walker. You can find him on Twitter at David B. Walker and Shoot Henderson, SHOET, Shoot Henderson. I'm just going to keep stalling and make Doug crouch the whole time and see if his knees give out. Thanks again for hopping on, making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, including YouTube. Make sure you catch Game to Game. They cover every game from across the league with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game across the NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow. All right, Doug.